Grimond is a small, friendly community with a big, splendid library. The folk of Grimond worked hard for their library. At last they would have one amenity at least that would measure up to the new town of Milton Keynes up the road. So when the library opened just 6 months ago, you might have expected dancing in the streets of Grimond. But instead it was the new town planners and architects up the road at Milton Keynes who were celebrating and indeed laughing, and the people of Grimond who were looking confused and abashed. For they had become the victims of one of the biggest planning upheavals, literally and metaphorically, of recent years. There was something basically very wrong with their library. There were reports of books tumbling from the shelves, difficulties in opening and closing the windows, even trouble getting through some of the doors. The problems of living with the new library built up so much in the first few months, the Grimond District Council decided to hold an investigation. Imagine the shock and embarrassment then for the townsfolk of Grimond when they discovered that their library, which looks like this, should in fact have looked like this. In the planning world, Grimond had become a laughingstock overnight. Their library had quite simply been built upside down. Imagine you must have a great deal of trouble actually trying to operate in this upside-down library.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, we get all the comedians in here. It's, oh, are you going to stamp my book upside down? Or is this the library they're shipping out to Australia? It's awful. And, I mean, I have a sore back the whole time because I spent half my life bending down to switch on lights, bending down to open a door. I think the whole building's a fiasco.
Not unnaturally, the people of Grimond are trying to play the whole thing down. This, for instance, is as near as we're going to get, and there's absolutely no chance, we've been told, of our filming inside. We did, though, manage to get some interior photographs, which indicate quite clearly the problems people are labouring under. The contractors were O'Connell and Casey. We approached their managing director, Mr. Casey, who told us that it had nothing to do with them and they'd simply been following the architect's instructions. He asked us to leave. Subsequently, though, we did elicit a word of comment from him by phone.
My lads have strict instructions to go by the plans. Now, if the plans have things upside down, they're under strict instructions to follow them exactly as they are. It seems to me that you should go and talk to the local council about this and not be talking to me about it at all.
So we did talk to the council. We asked to speak to their senior surveyor, Mr. Powell. Ah, that Mr. Powell, they said. No, he's taken early retirement. About 6 months ago, we asked. Yes, they replied. After prolonged pressure, the council did offer up a spokesman, Mr. Sidney Hewer. Mr. Hewer, this library has obviously become quite an embarrassment to Grimond Council. How did it happen?
Well, you'll appreciate, Mr. Young, that Grimond Council is inevitably in the hands of the architect in these matters. It's to him you should really be talking. But we certainly are embarrassed about it, but it is the architect's fault.
So the buck was passed once more. But what of this architect, Raymond T. Hoachley? Well, it appears he's gone out of business, which in the circumstances may seem fair enough. But not because of the upside-down Grimond Library. Nationwide has discovered that he had invented and was marketing a new photolitho-reproduction machine for the copying of architects' drawings. He was selling by mail order in posh trade magazines. Today, he's gone bankrupt. It was an ingenious idea, this machine, relying as it did on photocopying principles and a series of mirrors arranged to create a three-dimensional effect on ground plans and elevations. This it did most effectively, but the angles of refraction inside the mechanism turned certain blueprints inside out and upside down. Grimond Library he envisaged as a futuristic building, all right, but his own machine turned it into something far more avant-garde than he could possibly have intended. Mr. Hoachley was not over-keen to be interviewed by Nationwide. We traced him finally through the law courts to his stone-built £30,000 house in the Cotswolds. This is what happened. Mr. Hoachley, we'd like to ask you about the Grimond Public Library. It does appear that that building is in fact the wrong way up. Can you explain that?
No, I have no comment.
But I think you have a right to say to the public exactly what's happened. Why is it the wrong way up?
No comment. I'm in a big hurry.
Well, Mr. Hoachley, I think the public do have a right to know about it. Mr. Hoachley, It's been a salutary tale for the folk of Grimond. Now they're attempting to raise more money so that they can turn that back into this, the way it ought to have been all the time. But in the meantime, what can you and I do, ordinary members of the lay public? Well, for one thing, use our common sense. Look around you at modern buildings and remember that Mr. Hoachley sold 46 of his photolitho-repro machines before the profession and the law caught up with him. So if you see a building that looks odd to you, a building which just might have been put up by an unthinking contractor the wrong way up, then report it immediately to your local authority.